Hello everybody, welcome to Also Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and drop a like on this video. I am trying to hit 100K on this channel by the end of the year, so that subscription would be much appreciated. Got to figure out how to get this video to 8 minutes today because, yeah, this is a fucking blowout. I will say the Hawks have definitely made quite a few people jealous because not everyone gets the opportunity to get fucked quite like that. The game is not quite over, which anytime that happens, you know I have a blowout because the way the NBA is, like, leads can be blown in a flip of a switch. Like, it happens so often. Right now, there's still 2 minutes left in the game. However, it is let's do some quick math here, a 37-point game as I'm looking at this, or 35, sorry. So yeah, it's fucking over with 2 minutes left. They're playing Chris Dunn right now. First time I've seen Chris Dunn in a Hawks jersey, and it's in the Eastern Conference Finals. So, yeah, not a good game for the Hawks, and a lot of people are going to look at this game and like say, hey, it's everyone made their threes for the Bucks. And it's true. They were well, I guess it's not really that true. I mean, they shot well. They hit 15 of them. They hit 8 in the first quarter, but you know, it wasn't as much just everybody hitting their shots, but on top of it, it was defense. It was, to start this game, Giannis was getting the easiest lanes to the basket. He, of course, had that one flip finish that was very Michael Jordan-esque, but for the most part, a couple of spin moves, easy transition buckets. He was getting play set up for him as a cutter rather than him being the initiator. Wasn't really taking like outside jumpers too much. In fact, I think he took 1 3 that I saw. I guess he took some later that I wasn't paying attention to because I barely paid attention to the third quarter because it was a 35-point game at the end of the half, something like that. Drew Holiday was absolutely fucking killing it. Couple of pull-up three-pointers, the mid-range shot where he basically fumbled the ball down to a long 2-point range and he still made it. That shot, I was watching this game with my dad, and my dad at that point was like, yeah, that's probably game because like for that possession to go that poorly and they still score, that's just a sign that they're kind of on fire. They weren't as on fire in the second half, I guess, because the shooting numbers seemed a lot better than, 39% from 3, but even then as a team, that's still very, very good. So Drew Holiday was great. He had an and one at the end of the second quarter. Brook Lopez was amazing in this one, and not just offensively. He did go 6 for 8 and 3 for 5 from outside, including a 3 where he also fumbled it out of the corner but still made that shit. Brook Lopez defensively was great, especially with Trae Young in the pick and roll. Now, I will mention, and this is a big part of it outside of just Brook, is that Drew Holiday and anyone else who is really his primary defender did a better job of not just giving Trae the screen. I saw a great thread that made me rethink some of my criticism of Brook Lopez, which was how a lot of the problem with Brook Lopez isn't Brook himself, but how much the Bucks just let the switch off of the screen happen. Like, if Drew Holiday did a better job navigating screens and not allowing Trae to get these easy looks, that would make a big difference in terms of how effective Brook Lopez is. That being said, I'm still very anti-drop big, but he didn't find himself in those situations where he wasn't able to contest a Trae floater. In fact, there were very few situations where Trae was able to get a clean look over him, but then he also stepped up when he needed to. There was a play where he found himself with Trae on the perimeter and he swiped the ball out of the bounce, so Trae couldn't take advantage of the mismatch. Like, just fantastic defense from Brook Lopez in the 23 minutes he played, and he was great offensively. Chris Middleton, he started off shooting poorly and then got around to fine, so good for him there. Bobby Portis was a spark plug off of the bench, and he only scored 8 points, but there was so much energy that came with him, and that's really who Bobby Portis is. He brings energy to the table. So he did that. He hit a 3 that didn't count because he stepped out of bounds. So it would have been a little bit more than that. But Bobby Portis getting cut out of the rotation in the net series kind of confused me because he was good, really good in game 4. I don't know that he made that many shots, but energy plays, hustle plays, defense, things like that. Bobby Portis definitely stepped up in that game that I attended. And I was like, why is he not playing? It didn't really make sense to me. So he's got an opportunity here and he played really well today. I think he played relatively good in game 1 as well. Also, Pat Connaughton, 3 for 3 from outside, hit a really deep 3 where I said, that's a bad shot, and then he made it. So good for him in that regard. Outside of that, though, it's also great that the starters pretty much get some rest because Giannis only played 29 minutes in this one because game was basically over at halftime, though you can never be too sure with today's NBA because blowouts end up not being blowouts pretty frequently. Hawks side of things, Trae Young, a solid 6 for 16. Honestly, it felt like he shot the ball more than that, so that's cool. I guess it's just because he took so many threes. Like I said, Brook Lopez played really good defense on the pick and roll. Trae was just not able to get that much space. He ended up taking a good bit, like a higher volume of threes than he did in game 1. He took 8 of them of his 16 shots. He also struggled to get separation on the perimeter, even though he was putting those up. So really just, it was overall a great defensive clinic from the Bucks, while also them being pretty fucking great offensively. I believe they had 77 points at halftime, something like that. So you combine that with great defense. Kevin Huerter wasn't doing what he was doing to close out the Sixers series. Bogdanovic has been struggling with injury, so he's not been that great. Yeah, Clint Capella didn't do that much. John Collins didn't really do that much. He got a putback dunk, but that was about it. Really just a sloppy game from the Hawks where Trae Young was defended really well. And, you know, after the Hawks won game 1, I had a few people come at me like, oh, that Hawks heliocentric offense has been real detrimental to them, huh? Yeah, they obviously won that game, and then the Bucks actually made adjustments, and then they defended Trae Young significantly better this time around. So ultimately, you can go really far with a heliocentric offense. I just don't think you can go all the way. I think that's been the biggest problem with James Harden throughout his career. Even if you do put a really good roster around him, when you make your offense that predictable, that can be a problem. And like I've said before, if you shut down Trae Young, you slow down Trae Young, you shut down and you slow down the Hawks. So that's what happened in this game. So Trae Young got slowed down, and at that point, like, Lou Williams was pretty good for them off the bench. Gallo was pretty good for them. Actually, Lou Williams wasn't that great. I don't know. And Cam Reddish actually got minutes a little earlier than I would have thought, but it was already like a 25-point game at that point, so whatever. But yeah, that was that game pretty much. I will say, this is kind of frustrating to watch in a way. I'm rooting for the Bucks because the Bucks are my favorite team remaining in the playoffs. I would not be opposed to a Hawks Cinderella story at all, but I'm just a fan of the Bucks, and especially a fan of Giannis, and seeing Giannis dominate this game with relative ease, and really the Bucks dominate this game with relative ease, was both awesome and frustrating. The title of this video is probably going to be something like "The Bucks Are Bipolar," and that pretty much summarizes how I feel about this team, because they can have a game like game 1 where they just look like they don't know what they're doing and continue to make the same mistake over and over and over again to the point where it drives you insane, because it's like, dude, make a fucking adjustment. And then just everyone bricking shots. Chris Middleton was terrible in game 1. I don't think Drew Holiday was Drew Holiday good in game 1? I can't remember. Regardless, just inconsistency to the extreme. I've never seen a contender and a team that genuinely can win a championship be this, like, fluctuate this drastically. Have one moment where they look holy fuck good, and then wow, they look like a first round exit caliber team. And that's what the Bucks are, and this game, in comparison to game 1, really shows that to me, because they just looked like a completely different fucking basketball team today. And so did the Hawks, to be fair, but that was also because of what the Bucks did. So that's just frustrating, and it's really the biggest flaw with the Bucks, on top of Mike Budenholzer being Mike Budenholzer. But the reason that Bucks fans and people who care about the Bucks and want to see them succeed, people who want to see Giannis succeed, is they get frustrated knowing that what they did today is what they're capable of almost all the time. Not to this extreme, like 125 points and 77 at halftime is a lot, and you can't expect that consistently, but they can be a version of what they were today on a consistent basis. They just aren't. Like, compare this to like the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns are not as good as the Bucks at their peak, but they're consistently really damn good. Of course, they had that game yesterday where they were bad because of Booker's injury and Chris Paul just having a rough game. But in general, I mean, they were on like a 4, 5, 6, 7. It was an 8-game win streak in the playoffs before that. So yeah, they're just, and it was pretty consistent throughout. Like, if there was variance between each game, between who had how many points and whatnot, but for the most part, the Suns played the same. Like, they had the same, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, we know what we're doing. They just had that consistency throughout. So actually, if we do get a Suns a Suns Bucks finals, which is what I would predict right now, especially with Kawhi injury and with the Clippers. If we do get that, I would say the Bucks are the better team, but I'm not confident in that with how much the Suns are consistent in comparison to the Bucks' constant fluctuation. So I just wish we could get some consistency out of this Bucks team, get Giannis not doing so much initiating, less jump shots, all that stuff. Drew Holiday being more consistent. Chris Middleton is like the pinnacle of inefficiency. All that stuff would just be nice. It'd be nice to know what I'm getting from the Bucks game in and game out, and I absolutely do not, and nor does anybody else. I don't think the Bucks know what they're getting game in and game out. So that's the problem with the Bucks. I know I'm being negative on after a massive win, but I just feel like days like today shouldn't be as surprising as they are, and that speaks to some of the flaws of the Bucks. Ultimately, though, you should feel good right now if you're a Bucks fan. I'm pretty confident this team is going to the finals. Even though the Hawks did provide a scare in game one, I did predict that it would be about a 5 or 6 game series, and that's one game on the Bucks home floor. I imagine the series is 2-2 after they go through Atlanta, or go to Atlanta for those 2 home games for them. But yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that. Just Bucks, stop it. Yeah, that's the end of the video. Goodbye.